Hi. So I've been bad and I've been making assumptions again. Let me explain that. I was on a call last week, a conference call, and I was talking about conversational copywriting, and someone chimed in and said, "Hey Nick, I'm sorry, but can you just explain what you mean by that? Like what is it, why, etc." And I suddenly realized that, I go on and on about conversational copywriting and assume that people know exactly what I'm talking about and why I'm talking about it. And clearly, as with all assumptions, that's a mistake. So let me see if I can correct that a little bit now and say more or less what I said on that call last week. So when I started out as a copywriter back in the late 1970s, early 1980s, media were one way. There was no web, there was no internet, and basically it was traditional media. I was writing for print, I was writing for direct mail, my colleagues were writing for TV, billboards, and all of those media were one way. People couldn't talk back to their TVs, you couldn't talk back to a billboard. And as a result, the way that I learned to write as a copywriter, the way I learned to sell as a copywriter, was within that one-way broadcast environment. So I learned how to write at my audience. And that's a very particular way of writing and copywriting. So then along comes the web, and all of a sudden things change rather dramatically, because the web was the first mass medium ever in the history of the world that was also two-way. It was interactive. There had been no such thing before. If you wanted interaction, you had to talk to someone one-on-one, or get into a small group in a room, or get on maybe a conference phone call, but very, very limited in terms of, there were no mass media that were interactive. But the web was. Right from the very early days, bulletin boards, discussion lists, forum posts, etc. Us as the audience could participate, which meant a measure of control passed from the hands of the media conglomerates and the companies behind them into the hands of regular people. So all of a sudden, mass media were no longer totally controlled by big companies, big business. Right, so then come along, we get the blogs, right at the end of the 1990s, early 2000s, we get blogs. So all of a sudden everyone can create their own blog. So individuals are now suddenly part of this medium. We can comment on the blogs of companies, the companies that we buy from. If they have blogs and comment streams, we can add our voice to their voice. Extraordinary. We take it for granted now, but an extraordinary shift at that time. Then comes social media, the rise of mobile, the rise of the smartphone. Everything now is becoming conversational. And, people are now taking part more and more. There are billions of people on Facebook. As audience members, billions of us are publishing our views and opinions and thoughts every day. As individuals, in the aggregate, we publish more than big companies do, than advertisers do. So a complete turnaround. And this means, it means lots of things, but one of the things this means is that the way I learned to be a copywriter back in the early 1980s needs to change, because I learned to write at a time of one-way media. And that time is past. Media is now two-way. Anything relating to the web or mobile, the audience can participate. So most companies have at least limited experience of getting conversational. So if a company has a Facebook page, which most companies do, however well or poorly they use that page, they probably participate in comment streams. So they put up a post on their Facebook page, somebody comments, and hopefully that company then responds to that comment. At that moment when they respond, they're entering into the world of conversational copywriting. All right, they're still in the business of selling their products or services, but instead of just being one-way broadcast in your face advertisers, Now they're entering into a conversation with an individual, but that conversation can be read by thousands or millions of other people. That said, while most companies have had to dip their toes into the world of conversational copywriting through social media channels, very few of them have taken those lessons and applied them more broadly. In other words, they haven't changed the style of their writing, their copywriting, on their homepages, on their sales pages, their emails, every other property they have online. Most companies are still writing most of that material in the old school one-way broadcast manner. And I think that is a mistake, because there's plenty of research and data to confirm that the more you engage with your audience, and you do that through conversation, the more you engage, the more likely you are to convert that person into a customer. You're more likely to sell them more, you're more likely to sell to them more frequently because you are engaging with them through conversation. So, super important, most companies not doing it across most of their online media properties. So therein lies the opportunity for copywriters today, is by all means hang on to that kind of one-way copywriting skills you learned the same way I did, but also learn the skills of conversational copywriting so you can help your clients engage more deeply with their audience and convert more people into buyers. So that was it. That was, I apologize if I've kind of taken for granted that people understand what I'm talking about when I talk about conversational copywriting. That is more or less the explanation I gave over the phone last week when I was on that call, and I hope you found it helpful. Okay, thank you.